that challenge my students. Teaching and modeling good behavior classroom Instagram had these really great videos on growth mindset, so things that would motivate kids to be positive. Hello YouTube family, welcome back to my channel Home Sweet Classroom. My name is Mariatul Laura, and if you are new, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by and visiting me here in my teaching journey and joining me in this wonderful adventure. Today is going to be a video on a teacher tag. We are talking about back to school classroom culture. So I'm super excited to do this collaboration with a bunch of other amazing teachers here on this YouTube channel, and I have put a playlist down in the link. You can go to the description box down below and find all of the teachers participating in this teacher tag video. So today's video is going to be about going back to school, and we're thinking about the classroom culture in our classrooms, and what better way to do it than to think about it at the beginning of the year when we're trying to plan out and thinking about the things that we want to integrate in our classroom that are going to really build upon this community that we want in our classrooms. So I'm going to be answering a couple questions that Kathy Dixon put together for us, which is also known as the math reflective teacher. She is also participating, and she put this wonderful collaboration for us together, and you can go find her on Instagram and on this playlist that she created for us to join together and talk about our back to school classroom culture. So don't forget to go visit all of those teachers after you have watched my video. They also have some amazing things I want to tell you about. Okay, so let's get this video started. I am super excited to answer some of these questions because it's actually some things that I really want to tell you guys and have been doing throughout the year, and some things that I want to do. And it's all put together in this wonderful back to school video. So let me go ahead and get started with the first question. Before I get started, I want to tell you that I am following a couple notes on my iPad and reading off the questions for you guys, just because they all can't just stay up here all at once. So I'm going to be reading some things off my notes and sharing with you guys into depth what I really want to share with you guys. Question number 1 is, what 3 words or adjectives would you describe your classroom culture? The very first word that I chose was challenging. I often use rigorous at school, and often our administration pushes on it, team leads, PDs, all of those things, they want to push rigor onto our students. And of course, I am all for rigor. Rigorous lessons, rigorous teaching. We want to make sure that we're teaching above their level so that we meet those needs of all the levels of our students. I believe that the work my students are producing are at their level, but I like to be able to push my students to exceed their expectations and to motivate them, to push them to do much more than they originally thought they were capable of. I absolutely love seeing the light bulb moment. And if you know what I'm talking about, it's that moment that they open their eyes so wide that they are just mesmerized and astonished with the work that they have produced, the things that they have accomplished. And that light bulb moment is priceless. I absolutely love seeing that moment, and being a part of it just makes me so happy. The next word I chose is accountability. Now, when I work very hard to keep my students accountable for their work, and sometimes I have to say it is a challenge because I'm constantly having to get on them and constantly having to keep record for myself because I'm trying to hold them accountable. And not to mention at the beginning of the year when you're teaching them to understand how you're taking them accountable for their own work. But not only do I hold them accountable for their work, for their product, for what they're producing in the classroom, but I also hold them accountable for their actions. I am always asking of my students 100% because I give them 100%. When I walk into the classroom, that is my 100%. I am all ready for the day, and also I expect my students the same thing. My students and I have to say, are like a team. We all collaborate into making the classroom a safe and fun environment. So when I tell my students that I hold them accountable for something, that I want them to reach this goal, it's because I'm also holding myself accountable for reaching the goal that I want them to reach. And it's all just a big mesh. We're a big team in it together. we're trying to reach our goal for the end of the year to get them ready for the next school year. I really work hard and not to bring outside factors into the classroom. When I walk in there at the beginning of the day, my students expect 100% of me. So that has a lot to do with how the classroom environment flows. If I walk into the classroom not feeling 100%, my students will also feel it. So I really try not to bring outside factors into the classroom, and it really makes a difference. And I tell my students the same thing. You know, the things outside we cannot control, but when we are here, we're here to learn and have fun. Okay, so my third word is diversity. Now this word is, I hold it to my heart because I am absolutely in love with all the diversity in the classrooms. Before teaching overseas, I taught in a bilingual classroom, and I was completely fond of bilingual students and the different Hispanic cultures that were in our classroom. But when I came overseas, I found that there are so many kids that are part of different families, different cultures, different traditions, and it's so fun to be a part of this diversity. I found that my students from all over the world just have different perspectives, different ideas, and it's just so nice to be able to be a part of it. And I have learned as a teacher over the past 2 years that it really takes a big heart to motivate and to accept all of this diversity, because I want my students to feel safe and to feel welcome, and that their ideas and perspectives and their culture backgrounds matter in our classroom. And it's been a bit of a challenge. I've had to learn a lot of things on the way, but it's amazing to me the diversity in the classroom, and be able to mold that into fitting into the needs of all of my students. Question number 2 is, what is one activity or routine you do that makes students feel welcome in your classroom? So this could be something I do at the beginning of the year for like the first week, first day, or an ongoing activity or an ongoing one throughout the whole year. Something that I do to make my students feel welcome or feel like, well, home sweet classroom is, one, I do handshakes in the morning. Every day when they come into my classroom, I give them a handshake. That could be like a regular normal handshake, or fist pump, high five, a wave, but I greet them in the morning. As they're walking in, I'm standing at the door and I'm greeting them as they're coming in. I say, hello, good morning. And I want them to learn to give me eye contact. Now, this is a double reason why, actually. I want them to feel welcome, but I also want to teach them to grow upon being little people, little grown-ups, that when you're greeting somebody, you give them eye contact, you acknowledge them. But I also want my students to feel welcome and know that I'm personally welcoming them and acknowledging that they're coming into my classroom. And it really helps me just pump up the day, motivate myself, and feel happy when I see them. Another factor is something that I do throughout the whole year. I have flexible seating, and part of it is having a comfortable, safe environment for my students. I don't bring out all of the flexible seat items all at one time. I try to change it up throughout the year, or bring out things as the year progresses, because I want my students to feel welcome and really want to come to school, really want to learn in a comfortable, flexible classroom. The other thing I really like to do is play music. I play music all day long, whether it's really soft while I'm teaching and giving instruction, or when we're doing our stations, I'm playing music as transitions, and in the background as they're coming in the morning, I play some pumped music for them. It is something that I've really enjoyed, and I have found that my students do enjoy it too, and it really changes up their mood. If they're having a really rough morning, guys, and they're coming in like that, I have had experience where they come in and they're just like really sad, they had a hard morning, and then I greet them, they come into music, they see their friends, and we're ready to start the day, and it has completely changed their frown upside down. Like, it's just been like a complete 360. It's really changed the environment of the classroom in the sense that music makes people happy. So the third question is, how do I develop growth mindset? I'm going to describe one way I develop growth mindset. So the question is to describe one way, but I really was challenged to only describe one way because I had a couple ways that I wanted to share with you guys. So some of the things I do to develop growth mindset are celebrating success and minimizing failure. So I have this quote in my classroom that says, "Mistakes are proof you are trying." I absolutely love this quote. #Target teachers. I did get it from Target, and I absolutely love this quote because it really defines what I want my students to understand from when they're making mistakes in the classroom. I praise that. I motivate them to make mistakes. I want them to celebrate their success, but they also have to be able to recognize that mistakes are proof that they're trying. A lot of the times I get my students that are trying and trying and trying, and they feel like they aren't succeeding. But I have to tell them, like, the amount of times you're trying is really leading up to that success. So really celebrating the success and minimizing those failures is something that I try to embed into my students. When mistakes occur, I'll show them ways that they can correct those mistakes. This could be by modeling. This could be by just recognizing that it's a learning experience. This is something I fully support, providing opportunities for students to grow and learn, because we want to teach them that they can redo, that they can correct their mistakes. In my classroom, I really believe in being able to correct those mistakes. As teachers, I want to be able to correct my mistake. If I did something incorrectly, then right away I admit it and I retrack and do it all over again. So I also encourage my students to do this, and I often make mistakes in the classroom as well, and that's completely okay. And I'll tell my students, "Oh, Miss Laura did that incorrectly, we're gonna have to do it all over again." Or I'll correct them by correcting myself. So this is something that I really try to help my students believe, that mistakes are okay. We want to celebrate our success, and by doing that, I can provide my students opportunities to redo and retry and be able to be successful. And modeling good attitude is another way I try to build growth mindset. A way you can do that by teaching and modeling good attitude is by read-alouds. Even in upper elementary, you can do that. Having books that target that skill by having a good attitude, even just a read aloud in itself gives a good vibe to all your students. Whether they want to admit it or not, even in upper elementary, they love read aloud. Students love to hear the teacher read, and it's just a fun and engaging way. Teaching and modeling good behavior it doesn't have to just be through read alouds, but I've also found that using Kid President, and if you're not familiar with Kid President, he has a YouTube channel, and when he was younger, he had these really great videos on growth mindset. So things that would motivate kids to be positive and have good attitudes, and all these videos are like themed and theme-based, like there's a lesson to be learned. And so if you haven't watched or incorporated Kid President in your classroom, I absolutely loved it, and my students did too. They found it so motivating to listen to in the morning, and I would often put Kid President for different purposes throughout my lessons, and it was just like a really good reference for my students and somebody to relate to that was their age. So the very next question is, how do you develop leadership in your students? So I do this with a number of different ways. I have different ways that I incorporate this in my classroom and help my students become great leaders. And there's so many different ways you can do this throughout the whole year. It could be throughout the whole year. It could be at the beginning of the year. But some ways that I have found that are really great. Do you want to join me, baby? Say hi. Say hi. Hi. No? So some ways that I have found to get my students to become great leaders are communication is one. As you can see, there's a lot of communication, even with my baby. Like there's so many ways that you can help your students to communicate and be strong communicators. So one way I have used book talks is at the beginning of the year, I teach my students about book talks, and through book talks they get to emphasize and elaborate on the book that they're currently reading. Now I do like a 40 book challenge at the beginning of the year, and one way I have found to hold my students accountable, going back to what the first question was, to hold them accountable is through book talks. I encourage my students to speak and to speak clearly. Therefore, it helps my students be able to better communicate with everyone else. Another way that I incorporate this is by sharing their perspective. I want my students to be able to see all sides of a situation, and therefore I encourage them to recognize and mindful of others' opinions and ideas. I try to help my students understand and communicate their perspective of things, and just really setting the tone for my students to help them understand that everyone has their own opinion, everyone has their own perspective of things based on their background knowledge, based on their ideas, based on the importance of the situation. So being able to see all sides of a situation really helps my students to become great leaders. Another way that I incorporate building upon great leadership roles and skills is my class jobs. I absolutely love class jobs, not only because it helps me as a teacher make the classroom more efficient, but it also builds upon the leadership roles in the class. At the end of the day, we'll just like get our stuff ready. Students will chat a little bit, and we'll write in our agendas, and I'll make sure I'll communicate anything that I need to for the week, for the day as well. It's kind of just like wrapping up our day and putting it together and dismissing for the day. I do like to walk my students out the door or dismiss them at the door. I like to, as they're walking out the door, I'll give them the handshake. I'll communicate to them, have a great evening and great job today. Sometimes I try to be specific on things that I remember throughout the day that happened, to recognize their accomplishments in the classroom and successes, and just setting the tone for dismissing and making sure that they're leaving my classroom with a smile on their face. The thing I also like to do is walk them all the way to the bus. So most of my students take the bus. Some of them walk, some of them have their parents work there that are teachers, and I'll walk them to the bus. Sometimes some of the most great conversations start at the bus, and they kind of tell you things that happen throughout the day during that walk. And so I really try to take advantage and walk my students all the way to the bus and say goodbyes. They love saying goodbye when they're on the bus and they're just like waving bye. I really try to make an effort to do that. Something that I also like to do in the mornings or at the beginning of our day routines is our morning meetings. I absolutely love and 100% believe in morning meetings. There are so many different ways you can do this. I have found different ways, and I have tweaked it here and there throughout the year to change it up in the classroom. But morning meetings has been a game changer in my classroom. During morning meetings, I like to do like a quick activity where it gets my students going and they get to greet one another, and it really gives them an opportunity to bond. I think morning meetings are a crucial moment in the morning for us because it really sets the tone for the day. It really helps my students connect and bond with each other. So morning meetings are something that I really enjoy and look forward to. Okay, so the next question is there something new you are going to try this coming year or incorporate this year? Why and where did you get your inspiration? Okay, so I have to say, Instagram has opened a whole new world for me. I don't know about you guys, but I am really new to Instagram and I absolutely love it. There are so many great teachers out there, Pinterest as well. There's so many great resources out there. I am constantly looking for new things to implement to my classroom, and yes, sometimes it is overwhelming, but I absolutely love it. With that being said, I'm just going to tell you guys there's a couple things that I'd like to try this coming year, and he's giving me his shoe. Just a second. So at the end of the day, there are some things that I've done a little bit differently, or I have done, or I've tried, but it is so in a rush sometimes in the morning. So at the end of the day, something that I would like to try, or I briefly tried this past school year are podcasts. It really sets the tone for the end of the day, helping students to calm down, to reflect, and just to listen to a short podcast story. I found so many different ones, about 10-minute stories, and that is something that is so cool. I thought that was just a wonderful idea. Something that I would like to try is sending glow notes, and this is from Teaching Exceptional Learners. I found this idea on Pinterest, and she has a blog post, and she put like the template on there, and it is just so cute. I love it. I think it really builds upon having a good classroom culture. I love the idea of being able to send something positive and just recognizing the student for his or her accomplishments and all the good things, just having a moment to glow and shine. The next thing I would like to try is classroom promises. Classroom promises are absolutely such a great idea. Just the idea of not setting it as rules, but it's promises to have and keep, because you're sharing a room full of students, a room full of your teammates, and these are the people that you're going to be spending the whole year with. So I think that having an alternative to rules and just calling it classroom promises, I love that idea. I'm planning to have like a couple and then putting it out and like doing little ribbons on the finger to keep that promise. So Teach, Grow, Giggle has a blog post with so many different engaging activities on building a classroom community. It's so cute, all of the activities that she has on there. But something that I would like to try from her list is the monthly community building activities. Now, I feel like I do something often, but setting something monthly, I think would be like a really, really great idea. I love how she incorporates it monthly, and each month is something different. And I feel like if you have like a set date where your students know at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month, we're going to focus on building our classroom community, and not to mention it is free. Something else I would like to try is the end of the day challenge. This was absolutely new to me. It's from Teach with Hope. She has a blog post, and she talks about how it's a sheet of paper, and it looks like a choice board, but it's an end of day challenge, and it's super fun. It looks super fun. I think it would be a really great way to wrap up the day and send your kids off with having a smile on their face. It's a quick little activity, which is something that I really like. It doesn't take too long, and you don't need really anything. So I think that's something that I would like to try at the end of the day next year. One other thing that I would like to try is a classroom Instagram. I've seen a lot of teachers have their own personal Instagram, and then they have their classroom Instagram. I think this idea is really, really great. Besides using Class Dojo and things like that, a lot of the social media is out there. Upper elementary is really leaning toward it, and I think it's a really great way to get your students engaged and just having a platform for them to look at and want to have their pictures out and seeing their classroom memories. Really helps build upon those friendships, and not to mention the classroom culture, the classroom community. It's just like, it enriches it, and I think it would be really great to have something like that posted up in the classroom, and just like build on it throughout the whole year. So the last thing I'm going to tell you guys is one piece of advice in creating your classroom culture. The one thing I want to tell you is creating your classroom culture takes time. I think it takes a lot of effort, and it's something that you want to build on and emphasize strongly at the beginning of the year, so that it is sprinkled upon throughout the year. Really think of and thoroughly plan out what things you want to have throughout the year at the beginning of the year, and really plan it out so that you are really focusing on building that classroom culture. I think it really molds how your year is going to go, and it really helps out in every aspect in classroom management and the friendship students building your classroom. So building a strong classroom culture has to do with a lot of planning upon the teacher. So look for ideas and motivational, inspirational things that are going to help you, because if you plan it out at the beginning of the year, it just makes it so much easier to implement throughout the year. Okay guys, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and were able to get some inspiration and some ideas on what you want your classroom culture to look like next year, and being able to implement some of these in your own classroom. Don't forget to go and visit some of the other teachers that are also participating in this teacher tag. We are super excited to share this with you guys and being able to make this video for you. So go ahead and click on the playlist down below and you will find all of the teachers that are participating. If you are a teacher tuber and you would like to participate in this back to school classroom culture video, go ahead and give the Math Reflective teacher a shout out in her Instagram account, or you can shoot her an email as well. We'd love to add you to this playlist and have you being a part of this video tag as well. So if you have any questions, don't forget to comment down below. I'd love to help answer some of these questions you guys have. If you are not subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and the notification bell to be notified for future videos. I will see you guys in the next video. Ciao for now.